Exodus chapter 20 verse 4. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that's in the earth beneath, or that's in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. Exodus chapter 20 verses 4 to 6. I've read this in a different part on the way from Champai to Aizor, with a beautiful view of the town between the two cities. And now I'm at the moment at the Sairang train station. It's a very newly built, they're still building the station actually, super long platform. And the trains can go from here, connecting sort of Aizor, the capital, which is about an hour's drive from here. It's not far, it's about 15 kilometers, but it's just mountains, up the mountains. That's why it takes long to get there. Yeah, so here at the station, I just want to quickly give you an idea of the station itself. Right. And the train standing over there, and the station is further off. Right. The trains here, I remember a friend of mine always used to say that trains, he loves trains for the fact that they are so imposing. I mean, there's a lot of horsepower there. The stuff they weigh a ton, and the stuff they're carrying weighs a ton, and so it's not easy. It's a lot of power, right? Those trains have a lot of power, and yeah, sure, you're not going to, if a train is on speed, and you're not going to jump in front of the thing. Well, except if you want to commit suicide, you're not going to drive in front of the thing, because again, you know, your vehicle, except if you have a tank, maybe, but even then, will be tossed off the road like a little rag doll. Okay, and unluckily, the fact of the matter is, God, who made all of this and made humans to make a train like that, ultimately, you know, those mountains, God made. Yeah, don't worry, I understand how science works, etc., right? How formations and the mountains form, right? But ultimately, all of that, the processes were made by God, and God is in direct control of it all the time. No mountain is going to be taller than what God will allow for it to be. Everest is tall because that is how God allows for it to be ultimately, right? Anyhow, so God has a lot more power. We won't make fun of that train if it goes past us, because you know you're going to suffer in the process. You'll die. But we have no problem with making fun of God. That's just sad. That's truly sad. Our way how we speak about God and do about God it's like we fear trains more than we fear God. A train can kill your body, a train can't kill your soul. Jesus said, fear him who can kill body and soul. Why is it like this? And in these verses we see here God telling Moses that he's not supposed to make any carved image or any likeness of anything that's in the heaven above or on the earth beneath or the water under the earth. So the whole point is they're not supposed to make a carved image. We're not speaking here of Michelangelo's David or something like that, right? Ultimately, nothing that portrays God himself can and ought to be made, right? In the first commandment, there is no worship of anything else. But the way is how we then go about it is we're not allowed to worship any other gods, but we come from a background where we used to worship other gods, and now we want to worship something that is kind of God, I mean something, or at least now the Christian God. So we start making images of this Christian God or something. And like these guys are going to make a golden calf. what was wrong with the golden calf? I mean, they were not worshipping the golden calf per se, as if it's now this calf god that led them out. They knew it is God who led them out. But no, their excuses. It's just a portrayal of God, so that we can see that when we worship God, we can see God, right? We have an image of God. Now, this is not a God, is not, but this calf now resembles or is an image of the one true God. So when we worship the calf, we're not worshiping this golden calf. We're not worshiping the golden calf. We're actually worshiping God through the golden calf, right? So we see the God that stands behind the golden calf. And so yes, people get away with murder. Christians get away with murder. So many things that we do. And yes, this is one of my pet peeves. I see it all over the place, and we justify our actions, right? Images of Jesus. Yes, I'm from a Reformed background, and I know not all Reformed people, as Presbyterians sometimes, have brothers in Christ and Presbyterians or Reformed people who are kind of don't have such a big obstacle with images of Jesus. No, I have a big obstacle with Jesus, because it is ultimately, it creates a mental image in our mind, and the mental image it created was that Jesus is a long-haired hippie kind of guy, right? And so when we think of Jesus, we think of the God of the Old Testament, who is this evil tyrant, and we think of this long-haired hippie, friendly, always smiling Jesus as the one that we can relate to, right? And so he is good, and God in the Old Testament is bad. I'm not saying all people do that, all Christians do that, but it has led to a lot of people doing that and have this image, especially people outside of the Christian church, but have this image of ultimately God in the Old Testament and there's Jesus in the New Testament because of images. I know the excuse goes that in the past people could not read, so these images, these pictures were made so that people could see the story. But you know, we don't live in an area anymore where we're on a time. Yes, sure, there's still people out there who can't read. But that justification is not a justification anymore at all. It's the same as, right, how there are things that, I'm going to think of just a good example of things that are negative, but we use it as an excuse just because we can't do anything about it. Okay, so bribery. Everyone bribes this country. In this country, everyone bribes. You can't do business in this country if you don't bribe. So I bribe as well. So we use something that's bad as an excuse to, the best thing is to, yeah, you're not going to change it, not now. But if you don't bribe, at least you start, and other people might see, and in the future people might stop. Yeah, that's the first thing. So you can't justify doing something bad because people can't read or write. No, that doesn't work. You're not allowed to lie to people. So better is to teach people to read so they can read it, and there's no need for them, no justification for them. But it's laziness, our laziness of not trying to teach people. I know my people in the past, they had only one book and they could read. Although they were just farmers, but they could read. Why? Because of the fact that they're not allowed to make images. So they had ultimately to read about God and not have an image of God. And that is, well, one thing which it led to.